at these conferences, I use every opportunity possible to get more Twitter followers, and I haven't really done a great job of that. I'm really letting myself down. So if you guys were wondering, it's just Jordan R. Crook, follow button. Do it. Man, you guys are low energy, and so am I. I'm trying to keep it up. I will wait here. There's zero shame. Cool. OK. Thank you for hanging in there. I know it's been cold and all kinds of stuff. All right. Let's bring up our next guest. Please welcome to the stage Roxanne Varza from Station F and the new MBE, Mike Butcher.
Hello. Thank you, Jordan, for embarrassing me. Hello, everyone. Mike Butcher, TechCrunch, and Roxanne Varza, who is the CEO, is the
Director, CEO. Put it on there, Mike.
The guru behind a new venture in Paris called Station F. Now, many of us are all obviously aware of colocation, co-working, big accelerator buildings, but I think we appear to be talking about something really quite substantially, exponentially different and bigger. So what is Station F?
I think exponential is a terrific word. We are the largest startup campus in the world. We're backed by Xavier Niel. So we're also talking about
the fairly famous French,
the super famous
multi-millionaire.
French
Is he a
billionaire entrepreneur? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
We're talking about a startup campus because we're actually really similar in many ways to a university campus. We're opening, starting next year, a workspace that has a number of different elements on site. It's a 34,000 square meter space.
34,000 square meters.
In a historical monument in the center of Paris. And it's a space that has been converted into a workspace that has, for example, we've cut it into 3 sections, and we have one section that is entirely workstations, so that's over 3,000 desks. We'll have 10 international startup programs housed there, about 1,000 startups we're expecting to be in this space. We have another area that has event spaces, including a 370-seat auditorium. We have a number of meeting rooms, private offices. We have a fab lab. We have a cafe or coffee shop that's open to the public. And we have another zone that is a massive restaurant. It's like 1/3 of our building, has capacity for 1,000 people, has 4 kitchens, has a bar, open to the public 24/7, which is quite exceptional in Paris. And then we also have a housing component coming 1 year down the line. So it's huge. It's really exponential when we talk about this project.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Basketball court, tennis court.
Jacuzzi, I think, on the roof is what we had in mind. Indoor tennis court, that kind of thing.
Great. Fields, rolling fields. It sounds really absolutely enormous.
Maybe we should show some pictures. Should we put some slides up?
That's a good. Go for it. You
guys want to see it?
Let's see it. Let's see what it looks like. So this is what, the old building?
So this is actually the restaurant space, what will soon be the restaurant space. Mm-hmm. Under construction, you guys can take a look at just how huge it is.
Gosh.
This is a 3D model of it from the outside, and this is also the inside, just looking all the way down. You can see all the way to the end of it. That's actually the size of the Eiffel Tower laying down is how big this thing is. And for anybody who's interested in actually taking a full tour, we have a VR tour available on our website, stationf.co. So you can take a full tour of the site.
Stationf.co. And it's going to be absolutely enormous. Let's be honest, it is slightly French, isn't it? In the sense that it's a big project. There is a sort of a tradition in France of the grand projet.
Of course. And Xavier has started this tradition, I think.
But the interesting thing is that typically used to be a big sort of state policy in France from the government, but this is an entirely private sector initiative, isn't it?
This is 100% Xavier's initiative. So he's done a lot of incredibly ambitious projects in France. First, he's founder of one of the big telecoms operators in France, but he's also launched Kima Ventures. They do 100 investments per year. The free coding school in the north of Paris called 42. They teach 1,000 students to code for free every year, and now we have this space for over 1,000 startups. It's entirely funded by him, and it's an investment that's around 250 million euros.
You know, sorry for being this skeptical Englishman here, but who's going to make money out of this? Is this sort of philanthropic, or is he going to do a fund and you have to pass through some strange deal flow situation, or what's going on? Does he have his own fund? Will he be investing in the companies as well?
So he's keeping all his investment activity through Kima, and Kima is entirely separate from what we do.
Well, it's not really, though, because he's a partner in Kima.
He's a partner in Kima.
And so it's not actually separate.
But Kima and Station F don't have, we don't take
Not
equity.
sharing documents with each other.
We don't share documents with, they share documents with us. No, we're looking at keeping those two activities separate. And Xavier's model for this project, it's not meant to generate any type of revenue. We're talking about a historical monument that's accessible 24/7, so we're not talking about a cheap space to operate, but we are looking at being break-even within the first few years.
Yeah, so I still don't understand. How is he going to make money out of it?
It's not a moneymaker for him.
Well, why is he doing it then? Just out of the good of his heart?
He's incredibly active in the ecosystem. I mean, we can see similar projects with 42, which isn't a moneymaker for him either. Initially,
this is just what, spare cash lying around he had down the back of the sofa? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is, yeah.
We need a few more like entrepreneur donors like this in the UK, I must admit. But now you mentioned VC, you'll have VCs there, right?
We will have VCs there.
Who?
So today we're actually super thrilled to announce some of the first people that will be on site. We've been working on the building for ages. Obviously, the space is important. The members
announcing this today?
We're announcing it today. We're actually announcing it right now.
Oh, okay.
So
who are they then?
this is the first anybody's hearing about this. So we have 3 VCs.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
that will be on site. One of them is Daphne, which is a new fund in France, 150 million. It's the new fund of Marie Eklund, who's become really famous, having invested in Criteo and a number of other big successes.
Marie Eklund is well known, yes?
Very well known.
Who
We
else?
have Ventec, which is a fund that actually was started back in the 90s, but they've done extremely well. They've invested over 500 million in 150 companies. They've had 14 IPOs, very successful fund. And we have obviously Kima, who does 100 investments per year. They will be on site.
The 3 French VCs, any international?
I think Daphne and Kima are actually pretty international. Ventec as well. They have huge, they have a portfolio that goes to China, to Russia, to Turkey. I mean, they're all over the place. But obviously, they're headquartered in
Surely
France.
you must have pitched this idea to international VCs. What did they say? They said, thanks, but no thanks?
They said, we're definitely coming. Open your doors.
but they're not going to put an office there.
At this stage, we're not announcing that.
Will you?
Potentially.
Who? Well, who?
We'll be announcing also a couple of other people in addition to VCs that are on site.
Anyone, what, angels?
Yeah, we'll have angels definitely on site. But today, we're only talking about these 3.
Accelerators?
We have actually also Vent Privé, who has announced that they're putting their first accelerator into our space.
This is the big fashion,
exactly.
fast fashion clothing.
The big private sales site in France. They have over 50 million subscribers. They're present in 14 countries. They're opening their first ever fashion incubator in our space. We're announcing also that our Fab Lab will be run by Tech Shop, which is a brand from San Francisco. And we also have HEC, or HEC, which is the top French business school that's moving its incubator into our space as well.
The list just goes on and on.
Oh, but can I tell you the best one we'll have there?
Who's that?
We'll have Facebook.
Facebook how?
We'll have Facebook on campus.
What do you mean Facebook on campus?
Facebook is coming on campus.
Facebook's office in Paris?
Facebook will be doing something in our space, and that is all I can tell for now, but it's going to be really cool.
Hold on a minute. Wait a second. So you've got Facebook has an office in Paris already.
They have an office.
And they're not moving all of their staff there?
No.
They're not moving. So this is an extension, another Facebook office in Paris?
This is a Facebook project in our space, exactly.
It's a Facebook project. Is it an office? Is it engineering? Is it sales? What is it?
That's all we can go into at this stage, but they're doing something very, very cool in our space.
Facebook is going to be turning up at Station F. How appropriate. Is that why you called it Station F? Hold on a second.
Not bad, huh?
Did they pay you off? Is there payola here?
Me and Mark, we sat down, we talked about it.
Couldn't possibly comment. You and Mark Zuckerberg. Should have called it Station Z then. Hold on a second. So, that's pretty good. So that's a really large number of partners, accelerators, VCs, Facebook project, whatever that is. We haven't got that out of you yet. We'll do our best. Why? I mean, okay, he's doing this out of the good of his heart. He's interested. Obviously, I think Kima will pick up some interesting deal flow there. Let's be honest, that will happen almost certainly. You know, what's the reaction been in France to this? What's the reaction? Positive, negative? Do you feel, are they worried? I mean, why is the government not involved? We had Axel Lemaire here earlier. Surely they want to be involved in this kind of, especially on the PR side of things.
Of course, and actually they have been very involved so far. They've helped us actually with a lot of the surrounding areas to the building, and I mean, it makes a huge difference to our space. So the city is putting in that investment.
Are you sort of regenerating an area of Paris?
Yeah, it's a huge area of Paris that, you know, it's kind of.
I get it now. He's obviously bought up all the housing around Station F. Hotels will be going in, golf courses. Is that not the case?
Not a bad idea, right? I would do it if I was him.
Oh yeah, I think we need to get some journalists on that, do some investigation. Surely, right? So basically, it's a big property play, right?
I mean, it probably will be a very interesting property play once, you know, this area starts getting a lot of more attraction to it.
Have you bought your apartment there yet?
I'm looking at being based inside, on the top floor.
Wouldn't that be a bit claustrophobic?
I'd love to be surrounded by these startups. But actually, we're also announcing today that for the startups that are interested, because we've been contacted by probably about 1,000 startups from around the world, that they can now apply to actually be based in our space through our program. So, as I mentioned earlier, the space will house 10 different programs, and one of them will be called the Founders Program. And this is for early stage startups. It kind of came from the idea that about 90% of startup problems can be solved by other startups. So we have kind of put together the best resources that other startups wanted to recommend for, you know, neighboring companies. And we're pretty much providing that through the program. So startups that are interested in applying, desks cost 195 euros per desk per month. It's flexible, it's a la carte, there's no forced mentoring, there's no mandatory workshops. They just have to go to stationf.co and apply starting today. They can do that through February 5th.
Right, okay, marvelous. That's actually pretty, and what? And
they should do it quickly.
Do it now. Yeah, because about 100,000 people on the live stream all just fired up a web browser to apply. That's actually 195 euros, that's a bit crazy. Are you expecting to reap the whirlwind of Brexit and suck the life out of London's technology startup scene with such low prices? And
you know, Brexit actually makes me quite sad. So that, you know, as much as I want international entrepreneurs to come to our space, it kind of breaks my heart that it would be the result of Brexit. That's all I can say.
I'm not even going to get in there to myself. You can follow my Twitter feed for how I feel about Brexit, at Mike Butcher. What about Xavier? Why are you here, and why is Xavier Neal not here? Because, no, with the greatest respect, you're an incredible advocate of this, and obviously leading the project. But why does Xavier Neal not step up to the plate and come in here and announce it in person?
You know, in many ways, I don't think it's about Xavier stepping up. I think it's about leaving the space for I mean, we have our hands on the ground. We're working every single day. He actually gave us a lot of the room to build what we felt was also relevant for the ecosystem. So I think he's pretty much leaving us the space to talk about something that's in many ways as much our project as his project. I think that's why he's not here today.
You're saying he's given you a free hand?
He's given us a lot of space in this project, yeah.
Give us some insight. Where does he sort of turn his nose up, and where does he say go this way or that way? What was some of the most major decisions he made?
Xavier is actually incredibly involved in just about every aspect of it. He's been there from day one. He goes to the construction site or the building site every single week, just about to check up on, you know, how things are progressing. He's been involved in everything we wanted to do with the startups. He'll challenge us if he sees something that he doesn't think is relevant, or if he, for some reason has a conviction that it should be done otherwise. But otherwise, if we propose something and we're very convinced about why we should do it and we tell him this is how it should be, a lot of times he just lets us go with it.
How did you research what this is all about? Did you look at lots of similar kinds of ventures around the world? There's some big, co-working, co-location projects out there right now. Which parts did you most admire, for instance?
Of course. So we've been looking at this for quite a while now, actually. Back a few years ago, we actually looked at quite a lot of different spaces before we started imagining, what the building would look like. But since we've really gotten involved in developing a campus and a full ecosystem under one roof, it's come down to actually talking to all the startups and all the players in the ecosystem, not just in France, but also outside of France. We have met with hundreds of startups for the last couple of months, brainstorming, getting feedback. What do they like? What do they dislike in programs, in places they work? And what it's come down to, we've gotten a lot of different trends, but you can kind of see at different stages, startups have different needs, different wants. They tend to really like being surrounded by young startups, lots of events when they're very young, but as they grow, they kind of want to be more insular. They want to be kind of more inspired. They're not into big conferences anymore. So we've started to see some of these trends and kind of tried to adapt to them. And we're hoping that we can provide a number of different offers so that every startup will find something relevant.
Xavier Niel is a big investor, co-owner, I think, of Le Monde.
Yes.
Is there going to be some sort of partnership, media partnership with Le Monde?
At this stage, no. No,
Have you spoken to them?
No.
Have you met the editor?
No.
Do you know anybody there?
I know someone who writes there. No.
Do they feel a bit left out?
He has, Xavier's got his hands in a lot of different projects, so we cannot be working with all of them.
He seems like a sort of a Wizard of Oz figure, sort of behind the curtain, pulling all the levers.
I think he is the wizard, actually.
He is the Wizard of Oz?
He is the wizard. He is.
The great Wizard of Oz?
He does all this stuff, yeah. He is very much like that. He's very much behind the scenes, but incredibly influential and kind of the mastermind behind it.
What? Because he has a strange reputation in France. He's kind of an outsider, isn't he? He actually he built up a massive internet provider in France, which is still going. He's worth something like $6.7 billion, I think. He also, actually, in his earliest stages, was briefly jailed after a 4-year judicial extradition investigation into one of his businesses, and got a 250,000 euro fine for embezzling 200,000 euros from some sex shops that he owned. So why is he still involved in the sex industry?
Not to my knowledge.
What are the kinds of organizations that are around Station F? Anything going?
We're very far from Pigalle. I don't think
that's the big area.
There's too many sex shops in our area. But hey, we're open to any kind of innovation. So even connected sex toys can come. It's no problem.
He's divested himself of those interests. But I'm slightly kidding, because that was some sort of.
That was a while ago.
Slightly. That was 2004, and it was some sort of dumb investment that he made by mistake, or well, it wasn't that big a deal. But he's basically an outsider, isn't he?
In many ways,
he's really an outsider. Is he trying to sort of stick two fingers up to the establishment with this?
I think with a lot of the projects that he does, he tries to kind of go against the grain and shake things up quite a bit. And he actually has said a number of times that it's because he's an outsider that he dares to do the things that he does. Whereas a lot of people that kind of have gone through the traditional path, they mingle with the same people and they don't want to upset them, so they don't dare.
Because he never went to any of the Grande École, and he's not part of the French elites much, as far as I can tell.
No.
He doesn't hang out. He doesn't come to tech conferences and become the big.
We'll get him here.
Big blah blah blah. He's so is it? What sort of difference do you think this is going to make in France? Because actually, interestingly, going outside the hall, I was just running around. I hear actually quite a lot of French accents. There seems to be a real vibe going on, especially in Paris now, about tech and startups. For a long time, you and I have both been observers of the scene. In fact, former TechCrunch writer, no less. You are. You've seen what happened, and actually, it took France a while to really get going, didn't it? What sort of a difference do you think this project is going to make?
I think it's going to make a huge difference. And I think we're actually, in many ways, very lucky because the ecosystem has grown so much, even from the time this project was announced. I mean, we've been in construction since 2014. And if you just look over the last 2 years, we can't even compare the ecosystem to the way it was 2 years ago. We were talking about numbers not too long ago with some of the French people that are at the conference, and I didn't realize that French startups alone have raised 300 million just in the month of November of this year. I mean, those are numbers that a few years ago we didn't even think possible for an entire year. I think
what do
some
you
of
think
this,
flipped the switch on that?
I think some of it is thanks to some of the initiatives like the government and whatnot, but I also think we actually have an ecosystem where people are clearly identifying the different problems that we have and tackling them. We had a huge problem with early stage funding not too long ago. Now we've seen a lot of different VCs and funds really go after that area. We are good in terms of early stage funding now. And I think a number of different programs that have come about have also been incredibly successful in really coaching entrepreneurs and making entrepreneurship trendy. It wasn't even something people wanted to do a few years ago.
But obviously, the international reputation of France, 35-hour work week, you can never fire anybody. If you do, they'll sue you.
I mean, we're all just eating baguette, Mike, all the time.
You're always going on strike. You only drink wine and eat baguette. I mean, obviously, which I don't know what's going on with that diet, but slightly seriously, you know, there is this sort of, you know, it's tough to hire and fire. It doesn't have quite the same mercantile tradition, say, as of the US. I mean, what would happen if you went to, as a startup, you go there and suddenly you find yourself in litigation about somebody had to receive an email on the weekend or something? Isn't that going to be difficult?
You know, you hear all this stuff in the press. I'm yet to meet a startup where somebody actually tells me it's been a problem for them. I've never met a company. I'm waiting.
Don't exist?
I'm waiting for one. If you're somebody out there, come and talk to me.
Is that all in the corporate world, is it?
I don't. I mean, I think a lot of it is. I think startups get by it in many ways. And, you know, these 35-hour work weeks, I mean, there's so many different contracts. You can't just nail it to one contract and say the whole of France uses this contract. So, I mean, I think, and, you know, the other thing is, if you look at it, despite all of that, they're still doing remarkably well. I mean, 300 million raised in 1 month. Despite these problems, maybe we should keep them on these kind of restrictions. Otherwise, don't know what they would be doing.
Sounds ideal to me, certainly. I must admit, I'd love to not have to answer email on the weekend. So Facebook, so it's going to be doing its new secret Oculus Rift project in Paris then, in
I think
Station
Mark
F.
is actually moving to Paris.
He's just moving?
He's moving, yeah.
He is? You heard it here first. Hold it, breaking news. So it's going to be Facebook's new special ops sort of skunk works team.
There will be a special Facebook project, and I can't go into more detail.
And it's called Facebook Project. What's the name of it?
I think we said Station Facebook, didn't we?
Station Facebook or Facebook Station? What about, no, but what is it though?
They're going to be on campus.
How many?
We have to ask them.
Anyone from Facebook here? Okay. Right, well, there you go. You heard it here first. Facebook is going to be doing a special project at Station F. We don't know what yet, but we will certainly be fine. I might go there in dark sunglasses or something and wander around. I might have to wear a different jacket. Roxanne Varza from Station F, thank you very much for coming to TechCrunch Disrupt.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.